And that was really painful. That was a painful experience to walk away, because there was all these abandoned Chinese children in this special school. And when we walked away, my daughter just very innocently, without any thought, reached over and held my hand. And all these children were watching us walk away from the balcony. And here's a daughter that had been adopted, and they're longing for a parent.
They're so longing for parents. Hi, I'm Connie Cenac, and welcome to Connie's Corner. I'm so glad you could join us today because I have a special guest here. Her name's Sherry Colton. I've known her for decades. She's a great woman of God, a heart of compassion, and a true mother in the Lord to so many people. I am so glad you joined us. So thank you for coming back, Sherry.
Thank you. What an honor.
I know, it's so much fun getting to talk and share what God has done in our lives. You know, it's been a journey, hasn't it?
It has been a journey.
And you came from quite a dysfunctional family, so it's amazing to see you so vivacious and vibrant and filled with the love of God. I mean, it's a true miracle. That is a miracle.
It is a miracle, and just the journey that I've been on probably just in the last 3 years with the transformation that God has taken me through has really been incredible.
You want to talk about that right now? Because we could talk about your journey into the kingdom. I know that you got radically saved when you were on the beach almost drowning, and
yes,
a bunch of surfers came and rescued you and your entire family, your son, 5-year-old son.
Right.
And honey, I know what that's like. I was caught in an undertow one time, and I literally thought I was going to drown. I cried out to God.
Yeah.
I was 16 years old, and I know these waters can be treacherous.
Yes, absolutely.
They can.
These runouts, yes.
They are very dangerous on the beach. Sharks aren't the only problem.
That's true.
So after that happened, were you married at the time? I would think so. You had a son.
I was married at the time, where I had worshiped him and he'd kind of been my master. I switched. And
he didn't like it, huh?
Light and dark just could not mix. Well, and I was just sold out.
I know.
Sold out.
I understand.
Yeah.
So you ended in divorce?
Yes.
Well, you know what? Thank God divorce is not the unforgivable sin.
Yeah.
Or neither one of us could get in heaven.
Right.
I just love it. Sometimes I see these comments or videos on YouTube, and I'm like, so religious, it's ridiculous. And, you know, they condemn anyone that doesn't measure up. And I'm thinking, I'm so glad you're not God.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, who are you to judge another man's servant? You know,
Pharisees, yeah.
Right. So, so you went a period of time without being married?
Yes.
And
I was a single mom.
Yeah.
Quite challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With one child?
Yeah, with one child.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then you decided to jump back into the foray.
I really didn't decide to jump in. One day I'm driving down the street. I worked at the junior college, and my prayer partner didn't come to work that day, and I'm going to lunch myself. I heard an audible voice in my car. It said, "Tonight you're going to meet your husband." And I'm like, what? I put the car in park. I looked in the back seat to see who from the computer department was playing a joke on me, and there was no one there. And I said, "Shut up, Satan."
I know, because really, who wants to get remarried if you've been in a bad relationship?
And I heard a laugh, and it said, "You will, you really will. Tonight you'll meet your husband."
Wow.
I got back to work. I called two of my girlfriends. I said, "You're not going to believe what happened." Put the phone down. My phone rang, and it was my mother. And she said she was going to introduce me to someone, and brought him to my house that night to do some counseling with another single mom that I had taken in to live with me. And that's how...
One thing led to another.
That's how we met. Yeah.
Wow. And you served God for a long time together.
Yes. Yeah.
You went to China.
Went to China, lived in China, did orphanage work there.
I know. Thank God you did, because that's how I got my son, Josh.
Right.
Your newsletter did it.
Yes.
I tell
yes.
you had that little picture of Josh there, and my husband, I had talked to him about us adopting before, and he says, no, we have 4 children. We got grandchildren now.
Yep.
Well, what? And I said, but I always wanted to adopt. And he never would, I said, okay, well, he's the boss. So when I saw that picture in that newsletter,
Yeah. Yes.
oh, by the way, the money I sent you on that mission, for the mission, that's the best money I ever spent. Because if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have got your newsletter. If I hadn't got the newsletter, I wouldn't have my son Josh.
That's right. And
because I
he's such a
circled that
jewel.
picture and I said, please. And I put it on my husband's desk and he read it. And he started crying. And that
Yeah,
started
I love
our
it.
journey of adoption.
Yeah, and that was a miracle story for you because
Yes, it was.
he was adopted the day before he turned 14, which was the cutoff date.
Yes. It
Yeah.
was.
And it was a struggle for you.
It
You had to
was.
fight for his life.
It was so horrible.
Yeah.
All the rigmarole we had to go through and immigration and everything.
Oh, yeah.
I gave up. I just said, I can't. It was so stressful.
Yes.
And my husband said, I will not give up. I will not abandon
Bless him.
our son.
Yes.
And he did every bit of paperwork, everything. And there's a miracle story on that one that I'll need to tell you about what happened at the last minute when we needed something down at the city. But I don't want to take up all your time talking about it. But it would literally was a miracle that we were able to get to China in time to get him adopted before his 14th birthday.
Right.
And Sherry, we wanted to go back and adopt another child after a couple of years. But the Chinese government changed the law.
That's right.
And basically, we were too old. I was 57 years old when we adopted
yeah,
Josh.
yeah.
So thank you for what you did.
Ours was a miracle.
Yeah.
Also to be able to adopt our daughter, and just like you, it's like, God, is this really you? Because my son was 22.
Yep.
And to start over with an infant.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, yours was an infant. Mine
Yeah.
was almost 14.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah, I didn't have to change
so
diapers.
we're such kindred
I
spirits,
know,
and
I
we've
know,
been
I know, I
through
know.
so much together, and
I
it's just such
know.
a blessing
I
for the
know.
Lord had to given us this special koinonia
Yes.
relationship.
Yes.
It's special that we
Yes.
have.
Yeah, Josh is 31 now, and he's living in Houston, working there. And we're going on vacation next Tuesday, and he'll be with us. He'll be joining us. Yeah.
So I saw him last year or 2 years ago in Houston, and we went out and went to Galveston, and then went and had lunch together.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, and so my daughter's now 30.
Oh my goodness. Well, we need to hook him up, because I don't know if he's ever going to get married. He's 31.
He seemed happy.
Yeah, he is. He is. He's
Yeah.
a very smart young man. He's very
Yes.
smart. And God did a work in his life. He was abandoned twice. First when he was maybe 3 years old.
Yeah.
Then he was adopted by a Chinese family, and he was with them for 5 years. But I think they just adopted him because it was a businessman and his wife, I guess. And they lived in the city, and the grandmother lived in the country in a little farm, and they had him live with her most of the time
Right.
to help her. And then when they found out he had a heart problem, a heart defect, they literally took him to the orphanage. He was 8 years old, and he told me, he said, they dropped him off and they turned and they just drove away, and he stood there on the steps looking to see if they would turn back.
Yeah.
They didn't even look back. So he was abandoned twice, and that spirit of abandonment
It's rough.
It's terrible.
It's rough.
But God has set him free.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I went with Dwight, your son, and my daughter
To the orphanage.
to the orphanage,
China.
and they had put him in a special orphanage. They removed him from the one that I had volunteered at and put him in the school. And that was really painful. That was a painful experience to walk away, because there was all these abandoned Chinese children in this special school. And when we walked away, my daughter just very innocently, without any thought, reached over and held my hand. And all these children were watching us walk away from the balcony. And here's a daughter that had been adopted, and they're longing for
They're
a
so
parent.
longing for parents.
And that was, I wasn't going to drop my daughter's hand, but it was like a pain to walk away because I wanted all of them.
I know, same here. That's why we were going to go back.
Yeah.
We were going to take a child, maybe with cleft palate, someone that others wouldn't want. I couldn't take a child with severe disabilities because of our lifestyle and our responsibilities with the companies we own. But we had plans to go back after 2 years, and the Chinese government put a stop on that. We were just too old.
Yeah, because you could have a 20-year-old and an 80-year-old and adopt, but once the combined age goes beyond 100, then you cannot. Yeah, but you've got one that's redeemed, and I have one that's redeemed. Yeah,
I do. My son Rocky said it best. It's like the story about the man who's walking on the beach and he sees all these starfish on the beach, and he starts picking them up and throwing them back in the water, and somebody says, "Hey, what are you wasting your time for? You can't save them all." He says, "I know, it doesn't mean anything to those, but it means a lot to the ones I just threw in the water." And so whatever we can do, and if every single Christian family adopted a child that is in desperate need of a loving home, think about the number of families, the number of children that would be not only blessed by having that kind of childhood, but also that they have an opportunity to receive Christ.
Absolutely.
Our son Josh accepted the Lord while we were in China ministering in an underground church. He got saved right then. He got baptized in our bathtub in our hotel room, along with everyone else.
Yes.
And, who can do? How many Christian families go their whole life and never lead anyone to the Lord?
I don't want to know the statistic.
It's terrible. It really is. It really is. And that's something that hit me when one time I was so busy doing church stuff. Literally, I was at the church every day of the week. And one day I was reading the scriptures, and he said, when I was hungry, you gave me something to eat. When I was thirsty, you gave me something to drink. When I was naked, you clothed me. And I'm thinking, I don't have time for visiting people in the hospital. Because I'm so busy doing churchy stuff. And then I started realizing, how many people have I actually led to the Lord? It really made me take a step back and say, what am I doing here? What am I doing that really has eternal value?
Yeah.
And I think that's something every single Christian needs to think about.
Well, what's the scripture? It's pure, undefiled religion take care of orphans and widows.
And aliens in their distress. And if we're not doing that, your religion means nothing.
Yeah.
You're storing up wealth in your 401k, but you won't give.
You're a noisy gong.
You're a noisy gong. Yep. Counts for nothing.
And not only is adoption important, but fostering.
I know.
Foster care.
There's a movie out about a church that's doing that, and I can't wait to see this movie.
It's good.
It is.
It's good.
And I know some Christian family up in north of Atlanta, and they have brought in foster children. And they become their family. I don't know if they actually adopted them, but they actually have raised these kids. And Christian families need to, it just makes me wonder, how much do you love God? Because when you love God, you love what He loves. And the number one scripture is pure religion, that which is acceptable to God. Pure and undefiled. Undefiled. In other words, there's no ulterior motive.
Yeah.
This is all for God. It's all for the King and His kingdom. Is to take care of them. Take care of the widows, the orphans, and the aliens in their distress.
Yeah.
Those who are suffering. That's true Christianity.
And not only, Connie, is it orphans.
No.
It's orphans in the church.
It is. Oh, yes.
I should not have opened that can of worms.
You need
I'm
to.
sorry.
Okay, we can talk about it for a minute or two. Okay, so let's do it. Let's just do it. Okay, let's do it.
I'll let you
Sherry,
handle
do
that
it. You do it. No, you do it. You do it.
There's just too many orphans in the church.
Fatherless.
That are fatherless.
They're fatherless in the natural sense, and they're fatherless in the spiritual sense, because so much of what we call church is you have a celebrity preacher, but he doesn't know that they don't even know the people. They don't know their name. They don't know the status of their herds and flocks.
Right.
And so these people are in the church, they're wanting family, but where are the fathers?
I couldn't have said it better.
And where are the mothers in the church?
Yeah.
You know what it takes to be a mom or a dad to anyone that's not anyone, a blood relative or non. You have to give up your time, your attention, your sports, your agenda.
And willing to clean up the mess.
Willing to clean up the mess. And also willing to tell the truth when it hurts. I've sat down with a couple of I call them on the carpet. You gonna let that thing take you to hell? Mm-hmm. You think the Bible's very clear what it says, who will and will not enter the kingdom of heaven. I mean, I've had to call them on the carpet.
I know it. I know.
You know that, but you don't have a right to do that if they don't know that you absolutely love them, that you love them.
That's what they call the tough love.
It's called tough love. You have to do that with spiritual kids too.
Yeah.
Especially.
Yeah, and that's probably for you and me one of the most painful things being in ministry is when you see the train wreck coming.
Yeah.
And they won't listen. For me, that is so painful.
I know.
It's so painful. And I've been there and I've had to see it.
I know.
But free will.
Yeah.
But free will.
And at that point.
So much freedom
I know.
is in obedience.
I know. If they only knew, huh?
It is so free.
And look at the joy you have. Here we are, two old ladies, and with the joy of the Lord, which is our strength.
Yeah.
And we're doing things for the King and His kingdom that brings so much joy, so much satisfaction. You know what, Sherry? You're going to have to come back.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll do it.
We gotta close this segment, but I want you back because we got so much to talk about.
We do.
You guys are going to get sick and tired of hearing from us, but we're going to do it anyway. If you don't like it, we'll just, scroll past it. But I hope you won't, because we're going to have a lot of fun here in Connie's Corner.
We do have fun.
We do, because you know what? The people who really know how to have fun are the ones who are filled with the presence of God,
and
the love and the joy, and it's available to you if you want it.
Yeah.
So come back for more. Join us again in Connie's Corner. Bye.
Bye.